Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Today, how the war in Ukraine could affect the world's food supply. The U.S. accusing Vladimir Putin of using food as a weapon after his forces attacked a key port used to get desperately needed grain to the world. The attack coming amid concerns of upcoming food shortages around the world. Did President Biden's recent visit to the Middle East actually hurt the U.S. standing in the region?
There's no coincidence that Putin showed up to Iran just as Biden left the region. There's a competition here. If the U.S. doesn't lead, Russia or China will.
Why many countries worry that the U.S. is not showing leadership under Biden. Good news for people who may be at risk for colon cancer. A home test that could dramatically increase your chances of survival.
This is an opportunity to receive and be tested in a private, uninvasive way. And that if it comes back positive, you can take the next step.
We'll bring you a look at this important new screening. And she destroyed her own world record at the World Track Championships. And Sydney McLaughlin immediately praising the Lord.
Well, I'll have to start off by saying all the glory to God.
We'll hear what Bible verse helped this track superstar remain on top of the sports world. Those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin in Ukraine at a time when hundreds of millions of people around the world are facing famine. Ukraine is trying to get its wheat out of a Black Sea port, a port that was just attacked by Russia. Dale Hurd has the story.
The U.S. is accusing Vladimir Putin of using food as a weapon after his forces attacked a key port used to get desperately needed grain to the world. There was worldwide condemnation of the Russian missile strikes on the Black Sea port of Odesa, just one day after Russia signed a UN-brokered agreement to allow grain ships to begin leaving. Firefighters battled the flames, dousing ships with water. Russia first denied it hit the port, then admitted it did, claiming it hit military targets. This Ukrainian parliament member says responsibility for getting Ukrainian grain to the world now rests with Vladimir Putin.
Are they really willing to deblocate the Ukrainian seaports to let us, Ukraine, export more than 20 million tons of grain?
The attacks not only cast doubt on the agreement between Russia and Ukraine, but further threaten grain exports and global food supply at a time when the world needs Ukrainian wheat. It's harvest time in Ukraine, and farmers like this one have so far been unable to export their grain through the port of Odesa. Ukraine produces enough grain yearly to feed 400 million people. But last year's harvest is stuck in silos, and there are fears that if it's not shipped out soon, this year's crop will be ruined because there's no place to store it. U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Bridget Brink in a tweet called the Russian attack outrageous and said the Kremlin continues to weaponize food. The UN says over 800 million people were affected by hunger in some way last year. And David Beasley of the World Food Program says this year an estimated 285 million people face starvation.
But we're facing an unprecedented crisis right now. And if we don't deal with it strategically, effectively, and timely, you're going to have mass famine, you're going to have destabilization of dozens of nations, and you're going to have mass migration. This is not hyperbole, this is reality.
In East Africa, millions of lives are at risk. CBN's Operation Blessing is providing food for those in need as a deadly drought is taking its toll in Kenya, with families facing starvation because their crops and livestock are dying. CBN's Ephraim Graham traveled to the region to see World Vision aid distributed to needy people.
I've never seen people in such dire and desperate straits, to literally have not eaten for days, to be reliant upon a food distribution to get food. But at the same time, those people who received are greeted by people who didn't receive. And they then cook and not only feed their families, but share.
Officials are hoping that despite the Russian attack, an agreement to allow shipment of millions of tons of desperately needed Ukrainian grain, as well as Russian grain and fertilizer, will hold. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Hope so. Thanks, Dale. Well, here at home, a blistering heat wave is still baking tens of millions of people from the Pacific Northwest to the southern Great Plains to the heavily populated Interstate 95 corridor. More than 85 million Americans were under excessive heat warnings or heat advisories issued by the National Weather Service. The agency warned of extremely oppressive conditions from Washington to Boston, and multiple record highs were expected to be tied or broken in the Northeast. Well, turning now to the Middle East, the Abraham Accords were a major accomplishment for the Trump administration in the Middle East. Now those agreements could be facing serious challenges because of President Biden's foreign policy. His White House team has some different plans for the Middle East, and as Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, they could weaken the U.S. standing in the region and help countries like Russia.
When President Biden came to visit both Israel and Saudi Arabia, things began to change in the region as agreements for mutual defense between Israel and neighboring Arab countries began to fall apart.
The security architecture, publicly at least, unraveled. It was canceled, and the UAE instead is now trying to reestablish diplomatic relations with Iran, as are some of the other countries. So it seems that they measured the United States' commitment to confronting Iran up, measured it as too weak, and are trying to come to some terms with the Iranians.
Middle East expert David Wormser says the unwillingness of the Biden administration to present a credible military threat towards Iran puts the Sunni Gulf countries in a vulnerable position.
Because alone, they really can't stop the Iranians. They can't defend themselves effectively against the Iranians. So they only have one or two choices. One choice is to try to grovel in front of the Iranians, which is the path they're beginning to show some sign of. The second path is to find a new strong horse, a new patron of power that can help defend them.
In addition to the defense concerns, the Biden administration is also making a change to the Abraham Accords by reintroducing the Oslo framework for Middle East peace talks, by bringing in Jordan, Qatar, and the Palestinian Authority. But other countries don't support that idea.
The Saudis, the others, the other Arabs, they do not like the PLO. They do not like what they're doing in various areas. So by forcing that back in, it actually threatened the Abraham Accords. Again, fortunately, I think the overriding interests of the countries are so strong that the Abraham Accords will survive, but it will not be with U.S. coordination.
Former Special Envoy for the Abraham Accords, Aryeh Lightstone, says these Gulf countries are frustrated.
There's a feeling of, what are we going to do for the next 26 months?
Lightstone says if the U.S. doesn't lead, other nations are waiting to take over.
There's no coincidence that Putin showed up to Iran just as Biden left the region. There's a competition here. If the U.S. doesn't lead, Russia or China will. It's absolutely in our interest to lead, and those countries want to be led by us. They want to follow with us. They want to stand next to us. They don't want to sit next to Putin. They don't want to sit next to the Chinese. They're not interested in that. But if we're not there, the Russians and the Chinese are.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, TikTok is the most popular app in social media, but it's also a backdoor for China to the personal information of millions of users. We'll tell you about the threat TikTok poses to U.S. security when we come back.
Before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
It's There's thoughts and chain reaction, but almost satisfaction. I love the way this joy makes me move. Yeah, I got that. I dance around because I know it. I move around because I got it. Joy's in the heart. I dance around because I know it. I move around because I got it. Joy's in the
TikTok is the most popular social media app on the market. It could also be one of the most dangerous to our national security. Lawmakers claim that Beijing is using TikTok to gather data on millions of Americans. And experts are sounding the alarm about the long arm of the Chinese Communist Party. Caitlin Burke has our story.
TikTok is the most downloaded app in the world. Known for short viral videos, it has tens of millions of users in the U.S.
Oh, I'm so over these gas prices.
In order to operate successfully, TikTok collects a lot of data. It tracks account information, search history, any content created through the platform, along with users' locations and behavioral information. Companies like Facebook and Google collect similar data, but there's one major difference. TikTok is based in China.
China has a national security law that compels every entity within its jurisdiction to aid its espionage and what they view as their national security efforts.
This means Chinese companies are required to make all data they collect available to the Chinese Communist Party. No exceptions. Brendan Carr, a commissioner at the Federal Communications Commission, says that includes all the personal information TikTok's been gathering on millions of Americans.
At the FCC, we've also taken a look at other entities beholden to the CCP, whether it's Huawei, ZTE, China Mobile, and we see just a history of nefarious conduct from business industrial espionage to blackmail. So there's a lot of reasons to be concerned, not about the videos, but the underlying data going back en masse to China.
An investigation into the national security implications of TikTok was first launched by the Treasury Department back in 2019. Then, in 2020, President Donald Trump threatened to ban the entertainment platform if it didn't sell itself to a U.S. company.
Bye-bye.
Through it all, TikTok maintained it had never shared data with the Chinese government and insisted the information of American users was secure, being handled only by U.S.-based teams. Then in June, BuzzFeed got access to a collection of leaked tapes from internal meetings at TikTok, and they told a completely different story.
They had people inside TikTok saying everything is seen in China. They had a master admin person who, again, was disclosing that there was almost no checks on what could go back there.
TikTok went on damage control and recently assured concerned Republican lawmakers that new steps are being taken to further secure American data, including the transition to a U.S.-based cloud services provider that they say will soon be used to operate the app, as well as store American users' personal information. While it sounds like a step in the right direction, TikTok CEO also admitted some China-based engineers will still require access to the app, which by law grants that same access to Beijing.
With that data, China is able to feed it into its artificial intelligence systems, is also perhaps able to compromise American.
A key part of the work that will still need to be done in China involves TikTok's algorithm. China expert and author Gordon Chang says that's the biggest security concern of all.
Through the control of the algorithm, China is able to influence American public opinion. We know that in 2020, the Chinese military used TikTok to incite violence on American streets. TikTok glorifies drug usage in America, and there are other things that they've been doing to interfere in our political process.
In a rare show of bipartisan cooperation, lawmakers are now saying enough is enough.
To have this kind of information, in a sense, be vacuumed out of TikTok into the Communist Party, China, and what they have been doing with a lot of technology and data acquisition scares the dickens out of me. It's time that we put a halt to this right now.
The Senate Intelligence Committee recently sent a letter to the Federal Trade Commission requesting an investigation be launched into TikTok. Chairman of the committee, Senator Mark Warner, says he believes the evidence against the company is overwhelming.
That's why Senator Rubio and I have said, all right, Federal Trade Commission, this completely falls into the area of a deceptive practice. That's what we have a law to prevent, and you need to do the investigation.
Meanwhile, the heads of the FBI and the United Kingdom's MI5 recently issued a very clear warning about the threat posed by China.
The most game-changing challenge we face comes from the Chinese Communist Party. It's covertly applying pressure across the globe. This might feel abstract, but it's real and it's pressing. We need to talk about it. We need to act.
Senator Warner says one step lawmakers can take immediately involves passing data privacy legislation. He points out this may be the last bipartisan issue that can be addressed ahead of midterms. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Still ahead, good news for people who may be at risk for colon cancer. A home test that could increase chances of survival to 100%. We'll bring you details right after this.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. Well, it kills more than 50,000 Americans every year. Colorectal cancer is on the rise, especially among young people. The good news, a home test kit for early detection is now available. Medical reporter Lori Johnson brings details.
Record numbers of young people are being diagnosed with colon or rectal cancer. According to doctors, that's largely due to lifestyle choices such as a diet high in red meat and processed foods, obesity, lack of exercise, and smoking. While this cancer affects all groups, African Americans are as much as 40% more likely to die from colorectal cancer than others. Fortunately, that could be changing.
Here at Trinity Baptist Church, a predominantly Black congregation in Columbus, Ohio, parishioners learn how to prevent early death from colon cancer so they can serve the Lord on this side of eternity as long as possible.
Assistant Pastor Janet Shepard's family has worshiped here for 5 generations, which can be common in these pews.
This is our home and has been our home for a long time.
What's not so common here is Janet's decision to get a colonoscopy. a procedure that can detect actual cancer or precancerous polyps.
Some people say, if I don't know about it, I don't have to deal with it, but you will eventually have to deal with it.
Janet's procedure revealed 3 precancerous polyps, which were removed during the same colonoscopy. Without that screening and discovery, the polyps would likely have grown into tumors, possibly even taking her life.
Had I missed that opportunity, who knows what would have happened? Those polyps would have remained. We don't know if they would have turned to cancerous. They're precancerous, but they would have remained in my body and had the potential.
During worship, Janet passes out blue colorectal cancer awareness ribbons and shares her testimony, hoping others will follow her lead.
When you talk about it from the pulpit, when you talk about it in your circles around church and that type of thing, people listen, and it's like, wow, if that happened to Reverend Jan, if that happened to whoever, maybe I need to listen to what my doctor's saying.
I said the first miracle he did was at a wedding when he turned water to wine.
Senior Pastor Victor Davis believes it's totally appropriate for spiritual leaders to give medical advice at church.
It is not just a place where you come in fellowship and worship, but it's also a place where you receive resources that you might be able to go back and serve the community better.
He adds that leaders of Black churches in particular carry a responsibility to protect their congregation's health.
The African American population in many cities oftentimes is the population that does not have access to the information that is needed so that they might get the health care that they need.
When it comes to getting a colonoscopy, there can be roadblocks, such as the procedure cost, no transportation, someone to accompany them, or the ability to take off work. As a potential solution, Ohio State University started a program using home test kits, not to take the place of a colonoscopy, but to cheaply and easily identify those who should make it a priority to get a colonoscopy and those who may wait. When you take a home test, you put a stool sample in this little container and mail it to the lab, which can detect microscopic traces of blood in the stool, a red flag for colon cancer. Some Trinity members are receiving the tests and urged to take action if needed.
This is an opportunity to receive and be tested in a private, uninvasive way. And that if it comes back positive, you can take the next step. This is a preliminary opportunity for you to get control on your health and know what's going on in your body.
Dr. Sabankar Chakraborty, a program developer, says the goal is to motivate those in the earliest stages of colorectal cancer to get a colonoscopy, rather than waiting until they possibly experience symptoms such as visibly bloody stools and other unusual bowel activity, abdominal pain, or sudden weight loss.
And once they are diagnosed at later stage, then the risk of death is high. For example, if you got diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer, there is a 90% chance that you will not survive for 5 years. But imagine if you get a colonoscopy and you get precancerous polyps removed, you have suddenly increased your chances to 100% survival.
Dr. Chakraborty says people not involved in the program can order home tests online. He reiterates those who get a positive test should schedule a colonoscopy, adding the often dreaded PrEP isn't as bad as it used to be.
The good news is there are several what we call low volume PrEPs, so you don't have to drink as much as you used to do before.
And there's little to no pain.
So there are sedation techniques with where you can be just completely asleep, pretty comfortable, and when you wake up, you're all done.
So while home test kits and colonoscopies aren't anyone's idea of a good time, doctors say they're definitely worth the effort because they could save your life or the life of someone you love. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Great story. Thanks, Lori. Coming up, American track superstar Sydney McLaughlin destroying her world record with a stunning performance at the World Track Championships. And then giving the glory to God. We'll hear what Bible verse she focused on leading up to her historic race when we come back.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
U.S. track superstar Sydney McLaughlin anchored the women's 4x400 relay to a gold medal as the World Championships came to a close last night in Eugene, Oregon. The U.S. won a record 33 medals. McLaughlin delivered the most stunning performance of the event, shattering her own world record in the 400-meter hurdles and blowing away other outstanding runners. After her win, she spoke with NBC Sports about the race.
I'll have to start off by saying all the glory to God. These past few days just getting ready for this race. Hebrews 4:16 has been on my mind. Coming boldly to his throne to receive mercy and grace, and I think he really gave me the strength to do it today, so all the glory goes to God. And coming into this race, I just wanted to go out there and attack the whole thing. Bobby and I have been training for this all year, and I just really wanted to go execute, and the last 100 hurt really bad, but I'm really grateful for it, and I'm grateful for that time and bringing a medal home to Team USA.
Incredible. McLaughlin has often spoken openly about her strong Christian faith, and you can read about what she has said about her belief in Jesus Christ on CBNnews.com. Incredible win. Congratulations to her. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with CBNnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today by emailing newswatch@cbn.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. From all of us here, have a great day, and God bless you.